my Discord guys.
Yeah.
Donnie has been talking you guys up, and I really appreciate you guys because you help us be more effective, and the fact that there's so many little brains out there, you guys are helping us find things, bits of information. You're giving us that support, and I really do value that, and I really do appreciate it, guys.
Join our Discord at discord.gg/reptiles. And remember guys, we're at war with Wiccan's Reptiles. We need to get more members than him by the end of the month, or we stop making videos.
Maybe you remember me, I've been away for a little bit. I just want to tell everybody, I really appreciate the support. There are some really ridiculously kind people out there. I had some things sent to us. You guys are great. That's really nice. Just, it's not always a party. So, not that I give a crap about parties, but it's not.
It's not sunshine and butterflies.
This is not always sunshine and butterflies, and there's so much going on, and there's, I get really sad. I'm just trying to get out from under that rock and give Donnie a chance to film because I haven't given any chance at all.
We were sick last week. Me and you both were sick.
Guys, I got the flu, I got an eye infection, and I got it all at the same time. I usually don't get sick, and I got so sick, it ruined. I'm not even right now, and it's just between stress and depression and being sick. All these things was just like a triple whammy, and it really kicked my butt. And my mindset hasn't been right. I suffer from I suffer from chronic depression, but I suffer from seasonal depression terribly. And right now we're just getting through hopefully our winter. And it's been actually a pretty easy winter, but I need spring, I need summer, I need life.
So we're trying to get him a tanning bed. So because when he gets a tanning bed, that would probably fix everything.
No.
No?
No.
What are you doing? What are you feeding the snake?
Feeding a retic. It's a tiger anthrax, which is pretty sweet, and this one is really dope.
Yeah?
Really dope. And a lot of people might feed these snakes a mouse or a small rat, but that's a pretty substantial rat, and she could eat another one of those in 3 days. So feed your retics big, feed them right. Feed all your animals big, because you're doing them a disservice otherwise. But what do I know? I'm only 6 years old.
Who are you?
I'm Josh.
Yeah?
I'm the new manager here at Nerd.
What did Kevin hire you to do?
To take care of everybody and all the animals.
Like Grant?
Like Grant.
Hi Grant.
Hi.
Grant's a celebrity on our channel. You guys know him?
Apparently.
He was featured in such videos as How We Feed Our Retics. Yeah. Anything you say for yourself?
No. I've got nothing to say.
Probably good, yeah.
Pleads the fifth. Pleads the fifth.
What are we doing? Wait, what is this? Tell me more about that.
This is a false water cobra. And they're cool because they're a lot like a cobra, but they don't kill you, which is nice.
Are they a good snake to start off on if you wanted to get into the venomous world?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, they act a lot like a cobra, I guess, and they're mildly venomous. Is it rear fang?
Rear fang, yeah.
Rear fang venomous, so as long as you're not allergic to bees or anything like that, I mean, you'll be fine if you take a bite, and they kind of have to chew on you anyways, really, to envenomate you, because I think it's like a type of saliva, right?
Yeah, it's a modified
protein, right? But and they're also not super angry all the time. They chill out after a while, but as you gotta kind of play with them and rock with them. But if you see this right here, that's the hood. They have like a hood, and they'll hood out. They get bothered enough.
See if we can get that head to come towards me. How come you couldn't get it the hood up? You promised me you could get it the hood up.
I know, dude. Look at that.
What?
Look at that. I almost had it.
Is it because it's too comfortable?
He's too comfy. Yeah.
You gotta.
That's as much of a hood as you're really gonna get. I mean, that's what they do. I think it's still impressive. Don't be mean to my snake, Donnie.
Does it behave like a venomous snake?
It will, yeah. I mean, once he gets defensive and stuff like that, he'll get into a defensive stance just like a venomous snake, yeah, but...
Unfortunately, Kevin treats all of his snakes really good.
Well, that's the problem, right? It's that we take care of these snakes, so not a lot of them are upset.
Look at the dedication he has. Look at this.
They're not upsetty spaghettis. What's up?
Tia is our new photographer.
Hey!
Because I hate taking photos.
You're great, though.
Yeah, so Tia and Josh are new additions to the Nerd team, and hopefully they stay because our turnover has been incredibly high.
I love it here.
What's that have to
I'm
do
not
with
going
me?
anywhere.
Well, that's good. Oh, hi, Kevin.
Hi.
What did you get there?
I have have some food.
Yes, what do you do to it?
When you're feeding these guys raw meat, so it's meat that we get from the grocery store, consider it all tainted. Salmonella, E. coli. And the way to deal with that, cook it for a little bit. Microwave it. So this is cut pork. I gotta look at this. So this is cut pork, okay? So if I go and nuke this in the microwave and get it sizzling, there's a good chance I'm ending some of the pathogen bacteria, Salmonella, E. coli, and making life safe for this. Then there's another part to it. This is not a whole food item. Come here. So we'll turn you around.
Oh, yeah.
You want that? You want that?
Yeah, what do you mean by a whole food item?
Okay, so this is flesh. This is literally flesh. Maybe in some cases there'd be some bone. So yes, this does a wonderful job feeding this little guy, but it wouldn't be inclusive of everything that's going to eat. I also feed it hard-boiled eggs or soft-boiled eggs with the shell, crack it all up. Ground turkey with calcium and vitamin D3. Whole food items. So whole food items means like a rodent. So that means like a defrosted mouse. So stuff you get from Rodent Pro would be a really good food item. These are kind of more like treats. And this is good to get weight on it and all that. But ultimately, I must include full, like with bones and organs and all that. It's critical. Once this animal's gone and ingested this meal, what do we need to worry about? We need to worry about super activating its immune response and its metabolism, which basically means, which means I need to bask and I need to optimize my body, my internal core time. We didn't make quick work of that. So what I have to do, I have to make sure the basking is really good. So when we talk about water monitors, having basking spots 125, 130 degrees is critical, because what it does is it supercharges their immune response. So it allows them to eat meat that's potentially laden with bacteria, and they will then get their immune response going, get their metabolism going, and they're gonna heat up and they're gonna kill that bacteria. Because remember, these guys in the wild are opportunistic. So they're gonna eat carcasses, dead things that they find. A lot of times those things can be rotted. Obviously, if you think about a Komodo dragon, and we just think about septicemia and all this, this bacterial bite that these animals have. They have ridiculous bacteria in their mouths, which ultimately helps them take down like a water buffalo or whatever they're eating, which is just a horrible way to go. But we need to realize there's more to it. So a lot of times people make the mistake. They go and buy some chicken, they do something like that from the grocery store, they feed it to their animal, and a couple days later they're like, oh, my monitor is bumming out, it's just sitting there and it's not doing well. What you've just done is you've just inoculated your animal with either Salmonella or E. coli, and it's really important to understand this. This is really, really key. So if I have a tegu lizard and I'm going and taking my tegu lizard and I'm feeding it raw eggs, well, really should give it the raw egg with the shell. But remember, so what happens if we no. See, this is
he's cheating.
He's got bone in it. I don't want this. This is too much bone. No, you don't get that.
Now, I mean, like, could he eat it though?
Yeah, he could eat it.
Yeah.
So I don't like the piece of bone in it. So I'm gonna do. Okay, I can handle a smaller piece of bone. So this one's okay. So we're gonna. He's really gonna have to work on this one. You're sure gonna go see. Look how smart that is. I know.
What's this one's name?
Actually, you know what? That's a really great question.
Well, that's Suki.
That's Suki right there.
Oh, okay. This is Suki.
That's Suki for sure. Okay, so come here. You want that? Wow, you just made too quick work of that. Want that?
Would you say that people not letting them bask after they're eating is kind of like a mistake a lot of people make?
So this is going to be a great way to kill your monitor. So remember that they have to. So if I took this animal and I kept it, let's say, an ambient temperature of like 80 something degrees after feeding this could actually spell certain death. So it's very, very important. So this is just one of the critical things. When we're taking care of water monitors, when they're little and they're growing, we need to be really attentive to making sure that the food items have a lot of nutrient base, and they also has a lot of calcium and D3. That's critical because these guys are growing. You're just disgusting. You're just gonna eat all of my food. Come on. It's very, very important for us to understand what we're doing. So if I just took an animal like this and I would just to feed it literally like drumsticks or chicken wings, ultimately it's gonna have a lot of problems. So remember, the bacteria, the GI tract flora, E. coli or whatever that potentially is tainted in the grocery store. So you are potentially buying food that is afflicted with something. So when you do good due diligence, which is cooking it a bit with a microwave or browning it in a skillet, those are all really safe ways to make sure that you're protecting your animal. And then secondly, making sure we complete their diet with bones, internal organs, variety. So fish, shrimp, defrosted whole rodents, defrosted chicks, flesh, internal organs, all that, and certainly eggs. Eggs are actually really wonderful. They're a really simple meal, and you end up with an animal that is just nice and healthy. I want to point out one thing very important, guys. So calcium is so critical for these guys. Remember, the whole metabolic process, as this animal's dumping all this acid into its stomach and it's digesting its meal, it has all the stomach acid sitting there, and now what the animal has to do, it has to neutralize that. So what it's going to do, it's going to rob its bones and the calcium that's in its blood. It's going to use base, so it's going to use calcium, it's going to use you just terrible magnesium and whatever, just to neutralize that acid. So the calcium that you're feeding this animal is being used up through the metabolic process, through growth, through the use of, it's being used for nerve communication and all that. And people sometimes don't realize that. They just think like calcium is being used just for, for growth. A lot of it is used actually for digestion. And remember, that's called metabolic acidosis, that whole process. And it's very, very critical for the health and welfare of these guys.
What happens if they don't have enough calcium? We have that.
They don't have enough calcium to get metabolic bone disease. We're going to pull out some little baby monitors. We're going to feed them some insects. Show you a quick little way to offer them the insects without actually losing them throughout the cage and poop.
On the new towels, guys, we got to get rubber masks or something with these.
Okay, so right now what we're doing, we're offering insects that are gut loaded and they have calcium with D3. So I'm using calcium with D3 because there is no ultraviolet light right now with these little guys. So for them to absorb and utilize the calcium that is present in their diet, we need to elevate their D3 hormones, which is allowing proper absorption and functionality of the calcium in the diet. So little monitors are really driven a lot by movement. So I can take something that's static and put it in front of them, and they don't really respond to it because they really see. But there you go. They just don't necessarily, like a cricket doesn't have a certain smell. If I use something like shrimp or liver, what's really interesting I've noticed is you can get this ground up pork sausage, and there's something about that smell that I mix it with the other food that a lot of times will initiate a lot of extra feeding behavior out of little guys that are normally just driven by movement. Getting them to eat. So when you actually have a little monitor or a lizard in general, right? So you're like, it only eats this one certain food item. What that is usually telling you is there might be something wrong in your husbandry, and your basic setup is it's enough to succeed at keeping the animal alive, but long term it's probably not enough for the health of that animal or any of that. So what we want to do is we always want to look at our husbandry. Could we improve things? Could we tweak things? Remember, we don't use spotlights. We always use flood lamps. I really like to aim the heat onto a tile. And this could be bearded dragons, this could be uromastyx, this could be all sorts of sun-worshipping animals that need a really intense amount of UVA. They need that really significant heat. Another thing, after you fed this guy and it's nighttime, well, it's got to digest. Let's say it's a meat meal. All right, so meat is really scary because it's very involved as far as what it takes to digest. So if a little guy like this, and I've just fed it some ground up turkey, I need to make sure this little guy is going to get really good overnight temperatures. So if the food actually rots in the gut, what you're going to do is you're going to cause a bacterial infection, and that may manifest itself as shutting the eyes, an upper respiratory infection, eyes sinking into its head, being lethargic, not thriving. And what you've just done is you've just started a whole bacterial problem because the food's rotting in the gut. So let's say if there was salmonella or E. coli present in that food, you've now inoculated your animal with that. You haven't given it a good immune response. The welfare of that animal is literally based on your basic husbandry. Husbandry has to be nailed. So overnight temperatures, going below probably 82 degrees is kind of like at that threshold with a big gut. These guys will gorge themselves because they're opportunistic, and they will really, maybe even overeat. And if there's not a lot of heat present during the night, that food can then become a liability, so to speak, for that animal. Oh, you missed that.
Is it even more dangerous when they're little? Are they more prone to that?
Yes, they're. It's very. So insects are easier for you guys going after a cricket with a cricket in his mouth. Another thing to note, so I've dusted these with calcium and D3. This calcium and D3 will also kill the crickets. So it's a desiccant. It's also going to clog up how insects breathe. They get the little breathing tubes on the sides. So if I really cover these little crickets with too much calcium, so to speak, you'll shorten the life expectancy of these crickets. So one thing that works really well, see this cup with this raggedy hole? But you're doing this helps keep in some of the crickets and then allows the monitor to visit in there and react to all the movement. So there you go. This is a really good way to ensure that this guy is getting what it needs. So, but this is really applicable to, your lizards are generally, most lizards are insectivores. So even if we're talking about tegus, a lot of times baby tegus are going to be driven by movement. What's interesting about tegus, they're really, really defensive when they're babies usually. So they get really nervous. These guys too, but with some socialization. And socialization is literally the acclimation of you into this animal's life and teaching the animal that it can actually trust you and not to fear you. So what you see when we have a big, goofy tegu lizard that is just wonderful is you have an adult animal that is so confident and so settled. It's not worried about humans and humans hurting it. You just get this big, lovely beast. But when they're little, like a baby rhinoceros iguana, a baby tegu, they're really nervous. So they're real jittery. And if I don't manage my behavior around them, I can actually take a bad situation and I can make it even worse because I'm not understanding certain things. Things like rubbing under the chin. When I start doing this, I get this guy thinking. So remember, I always talk about modes. It's all about modes. So when I do this, I'm getting this guy to take it in. So it's a little recording. It's recording everything. He's like, oh, this is wonderful. This feels good. Just like birds, lizards are so much like birds. If I start rubbing around the ears, a lot of times they'll push into it. It feels nice. I'm always doing under the tail. This guy's just kind of moving. He's really interested in food. So, but if I can take an animal like this and I can show it food and I'm still engaging in a feeding behavior, it's excellent because this animal is thinking. There's not a lot of fear going on. This animal is experiencing everything. And if you continue this, you're going to end up having a wonderful, wonderful animal. And it's your job to just, every time you interact with your animal, you want to just kind of supportive therapy, which means the animal is going to continue to trust you. If I do a lot of crazy movements with my hands. If a dog runs into the room, these guys are so keen and so aware. They see a dog and they know that's another predator, and they'll immediately become very defensive. It's all about the single little experiences that collectively are going to add up and make a relationship with these animals. Now this you can achieve with the tokay gecko, you can achieve with all sorts of different animals. If the target lizard that you're picking, is it a prey species? Is it food for like another animal? So is it like a little swift? So a little swift is a prey species for things like birds and all sorts of different other lizards and whatever. So it's very important to consider that an animal like that, nature has given it this this need to hide and run, and they are less likely to collect themselves and go into thinking mode. So they're always going to be in this fear mode. So I have these very large growing predatory lizards like water monitors. They might start out defensively, but very quickly I can engage their brain, get them thinking. And yes, they truly are a prey species as babies, but as they start growing, they become that apex predator. That gives me a brain that is really great to work with, as opposed to if I was dealing with a swift. Not saying swifts like an anole. Anole can be a wonderfully intelligent little animal, very often in thinking mode, looking around, because they live in a really tough environment. They have a short life. They're always battling for territory and wanting to breed with other females. And they have this little psychology to them that they have a really amazing little brain, like a garter snake. Garter snakes can have really great little brains. And so some lizards, if it's literally just a prey species, even a lot of like the dwarf monitors in Australia, a lot of those can be really nervous and high strung, and you don't get to have nearly the kind of relationship you have with the water monitor. This is a genius animal. You always want to make sure you when you're picking your target animal, what your next pet's going to be, you want to make sure that it lives within the parameters of your expectations. But we can do remarkable things with lizards. We're always underestimating, always undervaluing their level of intellect and what they're aware of. And it's always a learning experience. I'm always learning. So these guys right now are largely satiated, and they've fed, and they're kind of like, okay, now this is discovery time. And once again, we're just you're doing this kind of supportive therapy, no dashing around. You notice they're all staying on the table, and they're kind of wonderful.
I gotta turn my camera on, dude.
You didn't turn your camera on!